Good day to everybody. We've had to do this one again at the start because for some reason there was audio in the background that was feeding back through the same video of what I was actually saying. We've had to do this one doing it again at the start because
Okay. If you hear any audio issues, please let me know because it seems to be double feeding for some reason at this end. So first, I'll just make a note. Anyone hear my audio twice? Okay. I've moved it over to the speakers. Okay, bit of a boring start, but anyway. Big thank you for everyone that's joined us today. And the topic's going to cover things from the Philippines. They're going to cover topics from Spain and also going to come relevant topics to me. So first off, I want to talk about something that may be a bit interesting. Which is what about when expats have got a criminal past? The reason I bring this up is I've seen some of the stuff relating to people that have been drawn out of their past for things they've done. Do you think they should have a ability to have a new start in the Philippines or wherever, or should that be something they're born to with? My own viewpoint on this is that it simply should be a case that the people should, if it's spent convictions or whatever, and they change and improve whatever it was they were doing, then I think people are entitled to a new start. But if they continue on the same path, then I think it is something people should be aware of and warned of. Is the audio pretty bad? Is the audio better now? All right, let me just get these issues sorted first. For some reason, I'm on the Mac today. It's played up a bit. Yeah, I think it's moved my audio.
is that better? Does the audio sound okay now? It had moved my audio over to the headphones. That's why it did sound muffled because I put my headphones under the pillow because it's playing the audio back to me here as well, which is something I didn't want. But yeah, okay, great. Phantom equalizer. Yes, better sound now. Fantastic. So we'll start again. I'll have to crop this bit up to start off the chat. Yeah, that's it. As Ella Winter says, you need to talk into the mic, not into the mouse. Yeah, so back to where we were. Do you think expats should be allowed a fresh start if they have a criminal past, or should other expats be dragging up their past? My personal view is if they've changed and are a much better person, then I'm all for letting sleeping dogs lie. Alan Winter, are you doing this intentionally? No, I'm not. It's something's gone a bit weird on my settings today. I don't know why. It's the same setup as we had last week. This computer hasn't been used all week, so I don't know why it suddenly decided to have a change. But gremlins in the system. But the main thing is, if the mic's okay and the audio's okay now, that's what I'm interested in. I don't understand why the audio is feeding back to me now. It didn't do that last week. Today it decided it wants to do this for no apparent reason. Okay, so yeah, my view on the criminals, I think if they've served their time, changed their ways, then I'm all for just leaving it in the past. Some of the guys I know haven't changed whatsoever, which is why I think this is an important topic. You know, if they've got historical problems for, say, domestic violence or fraud or things that they continue to do even in the Philippines, then I do think it's important that this sort of stuff's brought to the surface, simply because it's warning people that these people have moved there for a new arena of fraud, you know, committing their crimes again. So I do think that's an important one. I had another message from Amelia Salgado relating to immigration to, phantom equalizer. It depends on criminality and the totality of past. I agree totally. There's some things I've seen in the Philippines that I wouldn't have been aware of if I wasn't working with the Child Protection Unit at the time. And some of the people are very bad people that are in the Philippines. And they've gone there because they've been released from jail in Germany, wherever, and they've then gone to the Philippines and committing the crimes again. Those people, I think people need to be aware of, just to avoid them. You know, if they're going to create problems for everybody, then we're better off just sidestepping them and just saying, okay, they're over there. I don't want to know. I'm not going to get involved. Just leave them to it. Because at the end of the day, I think it's the authorities' responsibility to apprehend these people. And most of the time, if it's serious, they do know. I remember a German guy, when he arrived in the Philippines, it was actually Interpol that made the local police in the Philippines aware of the guy because they know he would continue to offend. His was to do with some abuse. The whole one is they actually highlighted and warned the Philippines police about this guy before he even arrived. So they do let people know, even if they say they don't. You know, they do actually communicate. Yeah, Amelia Soldado asked about the immigration as a Filipino to Spain and the different types of visas. Now, that's quite a complicated one. So I'm going to discuss this with Andreas, and this will go on the Spanish channel because it's a very long-winded thing, because some Filipinos have a historical right to live in Spain because their ancestors are Spanish, etc., etc. Plus, there's different visa processes for students, for people coming to live here, people married to foreigners. So that's going to go on the Spanish channel. So that'll come up soon on a different channel. Phantom equalizer. Would have thought there would be a check on Interpol on entry on the scanning of passports. But the thing is, the thing you've got is they have a spent crime. So they have already been released from jail. So they're not actually wanted, but they're known repeat offenders. So what they do is they flag it up to say, be aware this person has repeatedly been involved in X, Y, Z. But they normally only really do that if it's a serious crime. They're not going to do it for somebody that embezzled $2,000 from their company or something. It's got to be pretty serious stuff. So for the average person, you know, it ain't going to affect you, let's put it that way. But there is some serious people that have got in lots of problems wherever they've come from, or maybe even internationally, been in more than one country. But Interpol will make the Philippines government aware, the police and whatever. The problem you get, though, is there's not enough done about people that are known to be a problem and may be carrying on the same stuff they carried on overseas. I mean, do you think that if somebody was say, involved in something very serious, affects other people, the police should have more powers in the Philippines, having that historical data, knowing that they commit this crime, and Interpol's even flagged them for it? Or should they be treated as a new person, as if they've never committed a crime before? Because I think it's a case of some may change, but I don't think they would get flagged by Interpol if they were going to change. So that's a big problem, I think. I think that's why so many people go to the Philippines that have a criminal past, because they're given a fresh start, even if they're going to commit the same. What's next? This is somebody commented earlier today. You marry the family in the Philippines when you get married. I think that's down to the expat. If you allow yourself to be manipulated into that scenario, then you're allowing people to basically manipulate you as they manipulate others. And they should run a scan on entry on fingerprints to stop these who change their names. They already know them. Even if they change the name, it doesn't matter. The Interpol already know who they are. They know when they're flying. They know when they're in the country they're in. It doesn't matter if they change the name. No fact. The reality is they only are aware of these people. They're already on lists of people that are known to commit certain offences. So I think if it's a name or anything, they wouldn't get flagged anyway. They're already flagged. They're already being monitored in some sense. You know, whether it's a local police station that's aware that they're in their area, whether they are getting on a flight and their passport flags. I mean, in the UK, for example, when I scan my passport, the tax office even know I've left the country because they stopped my tax from that date. Everything's interwoven in the UK, and I'm sure most Western countries are that tight on it. Spanish government are very good. When I had my wallet stolen, they actually returned my passport 6 months later when they recovered it to the address that they didn't have, which is the apartment I live in now, because when it was stolen, I didn't have a residency. I was actually here on a fact-finding week. So I didn't actually have an address to send it to. But they actually returned it to my address in Spain. Use your forehead. Yeah, I don't think they would scan the foreheads very well. I don't know if they would get the same sort of reading as they would people's fingerprints. Oh yeah, back to marrying the family. Yeah, if you get involved with getting tied to marrying the family, if you marry somebody from the Philippines, I think you're setting yourself up for problems that are historical, because a lot of people they're sold on this, but it's all about debt of gratitude from what I see. It's where people have invested, and it really is an investment, in siblings, in nieces, cousins, whatever, getting them through college, and then they want that money back over a period of time, but at the same time, forever, until you die. You know, it's a long-term pension plan. My personal viewpoint is, when somebody says you're marrying into a Philippine family, I would also say they are marrying into your Western culture as well, which actually says, no, this isn't what I think is right. Yeah, it takes two mentions. They do scan the iris in UAE. I agree. Unless you have one of the little local stamps, then you just walk straight through the immigration, because you can actually fast track through the airport as well. Yeah, I had a funny thing when I was in Oman, because we come in through Dubai, and we come across the border, and the director of the company I was with, he'd gone in to get his visa done and got mine done at the same time. So he come back and it's like, oh yeah, it's okay for a month. And then, so I'd left my passport and then like come up to like, okay, I've got to get it renewed. And then when I opened it, it had expired 11 days ago, because it wasn't a 30-day stamp he'd got. He'd got me like a 15-day stamp. So I then had to, he's like, oh, don't worry about it. They don't take it that serious. And it's like, speaking with the local guys that deal with our passport stuff, they throw you in jail for it. But it ended up costing me about about $200 in fines for being a few days late. But it's lucky I checked it, because I even went a little bit early and it was already way over, 11 days over. Yeah, they're not. They do check up on things. There was somebody I was talking to recently that was going out to Afghanistan, because they fly out via Qatar. There was a Filipino guy that was flying along with him. They were going back, and they picked the Filipino guy up at the Qatari airport in Doha. He had a debt that he hadn't paid years ago. Like, I don't know, it was like 2 years, 8 years, whatever. But they arrested him and held him for 2 weeks. And now you think that's the international lounge. James Williams, man, I have no life. I was on It Takes Two, Philippines, Says Style, and Matt Wilkie. What the hell's up with me? It's the weekends. You're allowed to do that at the weekends. Weekends are about chilling. During the week, there's plenty of stress. So weekends, you're allowed to relax. Another question has just come. Is immigration to Spain difficult? Getting here is not difficult. Getting paperwork processed has become a problem. Because what you've had is an influx, because obviously everyone's aware of the influx of immigration throughout Europe, but it didn't just open this door, because everyone goes, Syria, Syria. It's not Syria. It's all the other people that are going through on the same route. And they are like from Morocco and other places, and then they're coming to places like Spain, getting their paperwork processed, and then moving on to the UK or wherever they want to go. So it's got a lot harder in the last few years. Before, you could come to Spain with 6,000 euros in your bank and go, here, I've got 6,000 euros, and they'll give you residency. These days, not so easy, because what they've done is they've introduced some sort of tracking. They want to see where the money's coming from, where it's going to. Matt, would you like me to bash Jeff Lee Brown, get laid, or or a Manila hobo? Patrick Glenn. I would have to say, from that, I would just say that Jeff has his own issues. I mean, it's. From what I can see, he has his own problems. I mean, even denying some of the stuff that is actually factual, he actually wrote it, is bizarre to me. So I'll just leave it at that. I just see the guy is. It's a bit like earlier when my mic was under the pillow. It was like that. All I hear is waffle from Jeff. It's just like, rah, 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 rah. There's nothing of value coming out of the guy. Do you think people should be more vocal about a vlogger that feeds children French fries to get laid, or a Manila hobo? From Patrick Glenn. I haven't covered anything. I don't know enough about that. Haven't heard about it, but maybe worth a topic covering at some point. Probably gets into that repeat offender thing we were talking about earlier somewhere. But I don't know the guy, so I can't comment. Maybe you can do a vlog on it, because I don't know who it is or whatever. So I'll leave that to one side. Getting back to the immigration, though, immigration is becoming, because of things like show money. So say you've got 3 or 4 guys that are coming from the same country. They put their 6,000 together in one bank account, went into immigration, says, there's my money. They then get theirs processed, and they transfer the money to the next account. That guy goes in, and then these are why things are getting more and more difficult. James Williams at Aloe Winner. Did you see the Manila Zombie latest video where he was all glossy-eyed, slurring and repeating the same stuff over and over and over and over? Is that the video that was deleted? I would have to say, from the stuff I've seen recently, I do worry about his health. not that I care too much about him at all, but he just looked very, very ill. Yeah, the one they took down. Yeah, so I had conversations going on in the chat room as well, but different people talking to each other. So what's my plans for this year? Somebody was asking about what do I do with my stuff in the Philippines when I am here in Spain. We actually have property in the Philippines still. We have multiple apartments there. So we basically just shut the door, locked the door. Our apartment's all still as it was when the day we left. The same as my office, we just locked the door. The call center just locked the door. We own the buildings and everything. So for us, it's just, we leave everything as it is. There's two compounds that are next to each other. My mother and father-in-law live in the one next to it, so they just keep an eye on stuff. We don't really have to move anything. I mean, we've got a Pajero there as well, 4x4, and then we've got my motorbike, and there's a scooter, and there's other bits and pieces. We just leave everything. We don't really have the problems these days where people used to tinker around with things, because like I've learned over time just to lock everything up. It's just easier to do, and it gets me suppose onto the topic of, are we going back to the Philippines? Well, the answer is yes. We'll be going back this year. Now we got through the first stage of our residency in Spain. We're now processing the next stage, which is getting all our documents from the Philippines. Well, I think it's the Spanish embassy in the Philippines that it's, because we're having to do it remotely. Either that, we'll have to head into Madrid and go to the Philippines embassy here in Spain. But you need to get your marriage certificate notarized by the consul, the birth certificates, all these documents before we can then go to the main non-EU immigration. But the thing is, now I've got my residency. That was the key thing that they needed, because everything else is on the back of that. You can't do a lot without that. But like I said, they've tightened it up a lot. Spain is a basket case. I would say Spain, I find it less of a problem than the UK these days. I would say it's difficult for processing, but they have systems in place. The UK is actually withholding some stuff, in my opinion. When somebody can hold somebody's passport in the UK for a year until they actually went there physically and then they had it by the following week, I would say there's certainly some politics being played in passport control and immigration. How would I know? Yeah. James William, does the US Embassy offer help to stranded or Americans that have legal woes? Are you asking about legal advice? Legal advice, I would say they would point you in the direction of somebody you need to speak to. But financially, they're only going to help you to get back home, and they're going to expect you to get repaid. So it's no free ride. I know some people assume that you're going to get bailed out. They ain't going to bail you out, not at their cost. I remember a few years back where somebody had some problems from the UK in another country, and it was actually the church that got the guy back to the UK. He'd had some sort of problems heading out. I think it was heading out to Israel. He was going via Europe. He was heading down into Israel, but he got stopped on his way, and there was all sorts of headaches. But he was actually sent back, but they had to send an escort with him on the plane, so 2 plane tickets had to be paid for. The guy from the embassy had to have a return ticket as well, so it was quite an expensive thing, and ended up the church paid half and his parents paid the other half to get the guy back home. So there's no free ride. I know some people assume that the embassies are there to help us. Embassies are there for trade. They do trade. That's their prime motivation to be in other countries. It is not for the citizens. It's not for our benefit. It is for financial benefit. All about the money. So what I'm expecting this year myself is I'll be traveling back to the Philippines at some point. I don't want to put a date on it yet. Quite simply, they've got to drop everything else in line. If you watch the update before this one, you've probably seen that my contract is sort of running to the end, which may actually bump up again, because all it is they haven't had the work come through, which is normal this time of year. January, February, there's normally nothing. It's normally you're either already in a contract that has already been paid for and ongoing, or it's waiting to get signed off. And after the Christmas period, it's very, very quiet. And then suddenly it just goes bang, and everybody wants you at the same time. So fingers crossed that actually goes right. Oh, well, since we're talking, guys in the chat talking about the stock market and gold. We'll get on to Donald Trump. He's probably had the biggest influence on the markets in the last week than anywhere else. My personal view on Trump is the same as Duterte. You have to give them 6 months, because what you've got is they're doing major changes in a short period of time, and anything that happens like that just throws everything up in the air. Demanding Mexico pays for this wall at the same time Mexico would no, we ain't paying for it, is a prime example of something that is affecting the markets, because they're putting levies on the import goods, which is also a bit bizarre when there's such a trade deficit with Mexico. But at the same time, we've got May over there from the UK, Theresa May with a H. If you've seen it in the media, they actually mixed her name up in the US media. But the thing with May going there, it'll be interesting to see what she comes with, because she's not supposed to be doing trade deals while she's still tied to the EU. Hi Matt, I'm Joanne in Cornwall. Hi Joanne, nice to see you. Yeah, so I'd say with Donald Trump, give it 6 months. There's going to be a lot of negative media. They won't cover the positive stuff. And the interesting thing I've noticed this week is that there hasn't been anything that's actually gone against what Trump's doing, which does make me question, are they just sitting back, you know, the people that are in the Senate or whatever, and just sitting back and see what happens? Because if they don't confront things, then obviously there's no real backlash going on from what I'm seeing. So just sitting back, letting Trump take the limelight, it'd be interesting to see what happens. James Hannigan, what do you generally pick up a Cebu condo apartment for these days? The prices on condos vary significantly. It's like here in Spain, the apartments we live in are about 80,000 euros upwards. There's somewhere between 80 and 130,000. The new apartments next to us, which are about the same size, are up to 240,000 euros if you're on the roof. Cebu's the same. If it's a brand new condo, they're obviously going to be a higher price than something that was built 3 or 4 years ago. Even though they tell you it's a great investment, they're going to keep going up in price. The reality is they've been constantly building. They haven't reduced their construction in line with demand. They just keep building anyway. I'm just going to check my other list of questions. I've got another list in the background here. Hang on a second. Just got to drop my window down. Bit unprofessional, but I can't reach the questions. Yeah, Norwegian Polar Bear asked in the last chat, when I was in the Philippines, I was not looking for a job, but high-rated hotels look for foreign managers to run everyday business. It was paying around $2,500 a month. I would say yes, those job opportunities do exist, because a lot of places want to have an international connection, and obviously chefs they often get from other places. Also for travel, it's often easier than dealing with all the immigration issues tied with Philippine passports. So if, for example, you're a large hotel group, it's much easier for a Westerner to go to the US for training or whatever than it is for a Filipino, even though it's corporate. They still have these problems relating to the passports. So there's many reasons why you would find Western people in the Philippines. You find call centers have a lot of Western managers. There's a lot of reasons for that. Some of it's the sales side, dealing with clients. Some of it's to do with opening up the sales and training and experience and coming from that background originally. It takes two Philippines. He's still mad at me. I heard about that video earlier, actually. Yeah, he did delete it after ranting on a bit. Cornish Jerry, hi Matt, I have a question about residency. Yeah, please ask. What would you like to know? James Williams at Out of Winter. No, he's normal. He loves Mango Square and the Freelance and Ladyboys. I think I know who you're on about with that. I'll sidestep that one. Yeah. So Cornish girl, what would you like to know? Oh, diseases in the Philippines. I've had somebody putting a lot of posts relating to diseases in the Philippines. I would say you have to just be careful like anywhere else. TB, dengue, malaria, STDs, all this stuff is pretty prolific, but I find the data is not very accurate in the Philippines. You will see contrasting documentation related to statistics as well about certain things, so you have to be aware of this. Patrick Lane, is it true or a lie about you being blacklisted? Can you please verify? Are you asking me, am I blacklisted? The answer is no. There's no reason to blacklist me, but also I have anti-terrorism clearance. I can't be blacklisted anywhere. I couldn't do the work I do. So no, the answer is I'm not blacklisted. And when I go back to the Philippines, I can assure you the trolls that spread that stuff will simply ignore the fact that I'm back in the Philippines. Have you ever cheated on your wife? No, I've no interest in it. I'm quite happy and content. Cornish Jerry, I got my residency in NAE in 2010 green form. Is this valid forever or do I need to renew it? Do you know? Are you, the first question would be, Cornish Jerry, is how long have you been out of Spain if you are out of the country? Because your residency does expire every 90 days. If you're out of the country for more than 90 days in 1 year, it expires. Now, the other side of that being is, I don't know how well they check things. If I went to France for 6 months, for example, how would they know? You just drive over the border. So I would actually say if you've still got your residency card and stuff, it may still be valid, because unless somebody actually turns around and says, well, you need to renew it or whatever, then it's probably fine. If you've had it since 2010, have you still got your property there as well? Are you still a resident in the country, or do you hold property in the country? Are you on a padron, electoral roll? Stuff that actually says you're still connected with the country in some form. What do I think about the adult entertainment being banned in the Philippines? I don't really, for myself, doesn't bother me in the slightest. But I think they need to look at stuff that's been manufactured there and generated there, because that's a whole industry that I believe operates illegally. So blocking it on the internet doesn't fix the problem. The problem's actually internal. Patrick Glenn, I like this format. Thank you for including your viewers and answer questions. I have to go to work in Gats. Yeah, Patrick Glenn, nice having you here. Take care. You're not in the right adult internet. No, I will say it for the broadcast. Some people may put some words in there, but I will filter it. Yeah, it's adult entertainment in a video format, should we say. Yeah, it's good because the Philippines is going to block all that stuff. And my personal view is I have no problem with it. I do think they should be focusing on stopping the industry in the Philippines that is often exploitive, but that's for another day, you know. Yeah, I agree. As James Williams said, agree, crack down within. There's a big online scheme. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the Philippines that involves foreign money as well, you know, the dog fights and all the other stuff. And I'm not going to say the countries that do this stuff, but at the end of the day, there is international networks that are operating these things. And yeah, I have no issue with stuff being locked down. I think the Philippines needs to reduce it. But I'm not sure how they will do it with these, you know, the video live chat stuff, because obviously if they're using private servers and stuff, it could be a lot more complex. So if it's blocking it going in, it's one thing, but it needs to be blocking it going out as well. I spoke to a police officer about this probably about 7 years ago now. And he said the problem is it's on domestic line. Because a lot of these girls are working on domestic internet lines, and it's very difficult to trace them all. That's the issue, and I suppose that's the sad thing. And I've seen some major problems in Cebu related things. But I do think they need to do a lot more to protect Filipinos, but also reduce exploitation overall. Topics are all over the place today. We've got so many things we're covering. So another question. What are my plans work-wise? I'm trying to get some more work just to keep me going at the minute. There looks like there might be a contract for London coming up that could last for 3 months, so that's fine for me. I can make enough money in that 3 months that will cover my income for the rest of the year. But also, I'm trying to get this other contract that I'm just winding up on. Hopefully, they get another run of work come April. So yeah, that stuff will, fingers crossed, develop into being able to work from here rather than head into London. Will it be more offensives? I would say they're probably on certain islands relating to the issues. Yes, Cornish Jerry, I did mention it. Basically, I was saying, if you had your documents in 2010, it's important you've had some connections with the Philippines, with Spain. If you've got a property here, got a padron, and your documents to say that you've held some sort of foothold in Spain, it's important. But also, if you read the residency documentation, it actually states that after 3 months, the residency expires. But at the same time, I don't know how well they check it, because in reality, they don't know who is here and who's not half the time. If I drive across the border into France for the next year, nobody will be any the wiser. So I would say it all depends how long you've been out of the country. Have you got some documents to confirm you're here? Because it's very likely if you ever needed to renew it, they would be asked, well, I can tell you now, if you needed to renew it, they will ask you for some proof that you're here. But if you don't need to renew it, I doubt they would even check. There's so many people here that haven't even got what you got. I know people have been here 18 years that are still officially residents, but they've got houses and businesses here. James Williams at Matt Wilkie, what's your take on the peso and how that will affect foreigners and prices in the Philippines? I would say it's been affecting people ongoing since 2007, 2008. There's been at least a 30% shift in the market. Back then, I was getting nearly 100 pesos to the pound. Today, what's it? Just below 70 and just above 65. That stuff affects people a lot, especially they're relying on income from outside, because obviously pensions are affected by the markets because it's affected by exchange rates. So yeah, I do think it affects people, and even back in, I remember 2008, 2009, some people leaving the Philippines. Cornish Jerry, I got mine in 2010 in Malaga. Well, if you've still got the property that was tied to, because the thing with residency cards is they'll link to the address. When you move house, you're supposed to update it. So it's valid forever as long as you don't move house. If you move house, you need to update it because it needs to have that new address. Phantom Equalizer, do you think Spain will ask for visas once UK is out of the EU? I think Spain is worried right now about the situation relating to the UK. I also don't think the UK realizes how much of a problem that it's going to have relating to its connection throughout Europe. I'm not talking about trade, I'm on about the freedom of movement, the number of expats that are here and there. So if some are forced home, the problem is, if they've been here 10, 15 years, the cost of housing's increased so much in the UK. All these guys could not buy a house in the UK anymore. Cornish Jerry, it's residence and any NIE all in one. Once you get your NIE number, it never expires. You've always got your NIE. It's a permanent thing. But the residency card, it changes on your address, and that's an important thing. It does change on your address. So if you've got a new location, you need to turn around and update it. Or if you still got access to that address, I would keep using it for now, because it's like I said, it's getting much harder to update the paperwork these days. Residencies mean nothing. You can get kicked out anytime. It's of no benefit to Spain to start throwing out its expat population. It would actually create a housing crisis in the fact that it could collapse the market, especially on the coast. The coast is reliant on expats from everywhere, not just UK. You've got Russians here, Ukrainians, everywhere. You know, there's a lot of money here. There's a lot of Chinese here. The Chinese got a 5-year free tax period when they first come here. There's a lot of people here that invested here, and quite simply, that's what Spain's worried about. It's got something that could really have a bad effect if it all went pear-shaped. Cornish Jerry, so wondering, as I want to go back in the next 10 years, right now, things are about to change. The whole Brexit thing is about to change things. If you've still got your property here in Spain, then you've got a link. You've got a link to Spain to say that I'm still resident here. It's not the official way, because you're supposed to be here. You're only supposed to be out the country for a max 90 days. So if you've been out of Spain for a few years, then that's already an issue. But when you go to renew, they don't really seem to check that much information. So you may not have that problem if you've still got the property that you originally had, because obviously if you haven't and you go to renew, they're going to say, well, when did you leave that address? And that's where you turn around. They'll go, well, that expired. You need to apply for a new one. But you need to apply for a new one anyway. Address. There's no way around that. Yeah, your property was rented. Yeah, you have to renew it anyway. And the rules are a bit tighter than they were then. but it's still not a difficult process. I mean, if you're coming here to retire or if you've got employment, it's just a case of going through the motions. So I wouldn't worry about it, but your residency already expired in that sense because you haven't got the property that was tied with. Phantom Equalizer. I had a local lawyer over 7 years ago get me NIE number without me being in Spain. Thought, though, you do not get one unless you have. No, you get NIE first. NIE you need to buy you need it for properties. There's a lot of people have NIE numbers to do the transactions for buying houses here. They're not residents. They're buying holiday homes. So getting an NIE is very simple. Is to pay the bank, take a few forms in, to be done and dusted in a day. The residency is a folder of paperwork. It's more complicated. Cornish Jerry, it's got no expiry date on residency. No, there is no expiry date on it. But what happens is, if you ever needed to renew it, like say for example, you're going to open a new bank account, the address is wrong on it. But also, if you're for example, needing to do something that involves that residency card. I mean, you may not find, like I said, you may not have any problems with it, but as soon as somebody turns around and says you're not living at that address, they're going to tell you to renew it. And that's where you have the problem, because when they renew it, you've got to go through the whole process. It doesn't expire. There's no expiry date on them. It's just that you have to renew it. It's like the Padron. The Padron, my latest one, doesn't have an expiry date. But the other ones, every month, you want to know if you're here or not. Spain doesn't chase people generally. It normally gets people to go and do the administration themselves. I don't think anybody's going to bother about having an out-of-date residency card, but Spain's starting to change because the EU is starting to create a bit of pressure on them. So it becomes an issue, but in all honesty, it's an issue for people since the 60s. Nobody really bothers with it too much. I mean, I bought a car here. We rent an apartment. We've been here nearly 2 years, and we only got residency this week. So I wouldn't say it's a problem. I know people have been here 18 years, even with businesses, that are not residents. So it's not a big thing. Wants to live in Spain, I would say Spain isn't going back. So I'd say it depends where you are, but it's fairly stable. I think that's the way I see it. I mean, where we are, it has no or anything, but I like that. The fact that I can go to the beach on one side of my road and then head up the road onto the park, getting over and things like that. It's a nice location. So I don't. It's not going backwards in any other sense. You know, it's tied with the EU. Everything in the EU is tied together. I mean, I think that's part of the problem. Let's next question. PB. People are talking about PB. PB, you have to be aware that I think, as some people say, I think he's stuck in the Philippines. I don't know if he's stuck there myself, but it seems that way. He doesn't seem very healthy either, so I would say just leave him to it. Cornish Jerry, connection is not great. You're breaking up. Yeah, might be the kids are taking over in the sitting room. Yeah, I can't. I'll leave him PV to one side. He doesn't really bother me in any sense, so yeah, I'm sure he'll have his problems with it. Spain is stable. I've read several news articles that say that separatists are trying to break off in Austria, and Catalan. Yes, through democracy. They want to separate, but it's also been kicked back multiple times. It's not new. It's not like there's civil war or something breaking out. It's people wanting it through diplomatic processes. And unlikely to get it, even with their votes. I mean, we've actually spoke to Spanish people about it, and they see it as Madrid. Up in the Catalan area, they see Madrid as a bit of a drain. So I would say just wait and see. I don't think it's going to happen, but hey ho, we're still in the middle of a Brexit, so we can see what that does to everything else. To me, I remember in the 80s in Spain, you could buy a one-bedroom apartment for around £10,000. Can you still buy for that price since the property market in Spain has dropped? In all honesty, the banks are holding so many properties at inflated prices. No, not on the coast. If you headed inland, the answer is yes. I know somebody picked up an entire village for £100,000, which came with 16 houses, including some that are put into the side of mountains, cave houses. And there was, big location. It'd be nice to get a group of expats to just set it up there, because you need like a few good people in there to actually bring in the infrastructure. Cornish Jerry, I left Spain in 2010 as there was no jobs, it was sales, and lots of people were leaving to go back to UK. But I do miss it out there. I was so happy that sunshine makes a difference. Agree with you 100%. A lot of the jobs up in Benidorm and even down a bit further south of me here, Torrevieja is Lazina have got a few. The call centers on the telemarketing, but telemarketing is changing as well due to the clients being prosecuted in the UK now. So it's not as easy to get a telemarketing job because they get sued. But I will say though, agree with you on the sunshine. The sunshine makes why people live here. I mean, you see some people here that don't have a lot of money, but they're more content than they would be in the UK with more money in their pocket, because it's the environment. It's more laid back life. Myself way more in the UK. Nothing seems to be a problem here. People are generally just not bothered. It's the way it is. So yeah, I understand how you feel, especially if you go back to the UK. I bet it was a bit of an initial shock, because I know going from the foot, you see a lot of the stuff that you didn't really notice before. It does become something where you can see that there's a lot of negative stuff going on around you that was just day-to-day stuff before. It will take 20 years for Spain to turn around at the earliest. I would say Spain is fairly stable anyway. I don't think it's going to do much in any sense. I think it's just going to carry on as it is. It's not trying to be a superpower or anything else. It's reliant on farming, it's reliant on its own sort of in-house economy. So I don't see it really having any big boom or big decline. It's just sort of sat in limbo. Yeah, Cornish Jerry is miserable coming back here. Shock. So cold, more like, yeah, the UK was cold. I'll tell you now, it's been cold here in Spain. We had snow about a week ago, and I haven't experienced snow in at least a decade. So yeah, that was a bit of a change, but it was great for the kids to actually experience the snow, because my kids have come in from the Philippines, so they've never seen snow before. My wife hadn't seen snow before. So one day of snow for a year, that's fantastic. I can live with one day of cold and snow, but the rest of it, I'd like it to be warm. I don't want any winters. I'm quite happy not to have the cold and the wet and the grayness. I like to have the sunshine. I like going outside and feeling that sun beaming on me and feeling like my temperature's gone up by 5 degrees just by being in the sunlight. That's what matters to me. I'm quite happy with the sunshine, good sunshine, and happy living. Also, I found the food was very strange when I went back to the UK, especially with Tesco's. I think Tesco's had sort of lost its way back then. It had become a bit of an Iceland. There's a lot of frozen stuff. There's less fresh produce. Um, are you broke? No. I know last time I was broke, probably when I left school and was at college. So I was paying for my own education. So that would be 1993. Financially, I've always had money in the bank. Financially, even now, we've got more than enough money for a year. Plus, I've managed to put away some money for a long-term pension plan last year as well as actually save a year's worth of income. So the answer to that is no. Phantom Equalizer, can you see Spain pull out of this EU as on the UK? Now it seems some are expecting other countries to come out of this EU after UK comes out. I would say with the EU, it's a strange one because my concerns over the EU is a lot of our representation existed. They just didn't turn up to do their job. So blaming the EU for everything is very, very easy because then the UK is not responsible for anything whatsoever. So I don't actually think it would make that much benefit to the UK by leaving, especially when it hasn't organised its trade and is planning for the future. Also, the UK runs in debt. It doesn't run in excess. So it has an excess deficit with the EU. How's it going to sort that mess out? But what about the other countries leaving? I would say it depends which countries they are. I know there's a lot of problems around what Turkey's up to as well, which is so what Turkey doing, I think, has actually got some people's backs up because obviously they haven't been doing what they were promising to do for the EU relating to the immigration issues. So I think give it another 12 months, would have a better picture of what's going on. Because I think off the back of Brexit, you will suddenly see a sudden surge of people being more politically active. I think they're waiting for that to see where it goes. And I do agree that some of these people may actually get their countries to pull out of the EU. But it all depends what's on the table, you know, what we're going to replace it with. Cornish Jerry, Cornwall is a beautiful place, but still doesn't beat Spain. Tesco is very expensive. I prefer Lidl. I have to be honest with you, Jerry. I was in Cornwall a lot of weekends when I first started driving. I used to go down to Newquay most weekends. You know, I mean, it's about 3.5 hours drive from Worcester, but we used to drive down just for the weekend, and we just like crash out on the site. Had some fantastic stuff down there. I love it down there in the good weather. In the bad weather, it's not so great. I've been down there in the winter. I went in November, got to a campsite, and the wind was so strong, it blew the tent 20 foot in the air, and we never seen it again. But luckily enough, I come down in a works van, so we just kept in the back of the van since we lost our tent. We couldn't open the doors of the van either on one side. When the wind was blowing, it wouldn't actually open. The wind was that strong. Yeah, James Williams, PV is broke. He's so broke, people in Tondo get to give him food. I don't know what's going on with PV, to be honest. I really don't. He's certainly not looking healthy. And I don't know if it's that he's not eating. I don't know if it's something else. Illness or whatever. That's why I'm just leaving him to one side, because I think it's a case of he's not in a good condition. I don't really want to bash him in any way because he's not in a good state. James Williams, I'm out. Okay, take it easy. Have a great day. Hi, Carl. Carl Wilkinson joins us from Belgium. How's your day going? So, anybody else got any live questions? Anything anybody wants to talk about? Please just leave us a message in the chat, and I'll answer them as we go. It's going a bit quiet because I've answered a lot of questions quite quickly today. So somebody brought up the diseases related to the Philippines, and what has been sending a few statistics. I've seen be very careful with statistics out of the Philippines. I remember seeing stuff related to AIDS, but there was no. They actually had a statistic that said there was 0 AIDS in 1 year, AIDS cases. And then like 3 years later, I think it was 7, and then suddenly now they're actually admitting there is an issue with the STDs, which I think is a good thing. I do wonder how much influence the church has had in the statistics and actually developing some sort of agenda there, because I do see that a lot of the stuff that's been ongoing had different groups involved in things that are more in line with public health and politics, but shouldn't really have the church, because it's not there as a support mechanism, but actually trying to get involved in things. Do I color my hair green? Aloe Winter asks. No, I don't color it green. Cornish Jerry, catch you soon. Take care. Thank you for today. It's great to chat. Yeah, you too. Thanks for being here. Hope you found the information useful. If you want any more information, please feel free to send me a private message or email. Take care. Have a great day. Equalizer. Will Spain be forever now, as you have everything there now plus better life? Why bother with anything now in the Philippines? My in-laws are still in the Philippines. Also, it's still home. At the end of the day, my wife and kids want to go home and visit the in-laws. They still have very tight connections there. Cornish Jerry, bye. Take care. So for me, I still love the Philippines. Spain and the Philippines are very similar but different. I would call Spain Philippines 2.0, because the legislation bureaucracy is very similar. The advantages you got where we are is you don't have the littering issues, you don't have the air issues, the air pollution, etc. But at the same time, the Philippines, I find the family connections a lot stronger, because, you know, when we go back, there'll be like parties with 2 people turn up and stuff, because we have a fairly large family, but also everyone's very close. So yeah, I'll always be going back to the Philippines. What's sort of been my Achilles heel has been the residency. It's basically kept everything back. It's been like a bit of a ball and chain exercise, because I've had projects that have come up in the UK and I've had to turn them down because I couldn't leave until I got the paperwork. Now I've got that. I've got the flexibility. So yeah, I would say Spain will be for the kids, it will be for long-term living, but the Philippines will also be like our summer vacations and stuff. But we also want to travel around Europe a bit more as well. So once all the dust settles, we'll start looking at more things to do. I know once April and the kids start, it also means April can work in Europe. That makes a big difference as well, because obviously April can bring in a salary big enough to actually cover all the bills, which basically means anything I earn will then end up in our investment for our long-term pension plan. I call it a pension. It's not a pension plan in the sense that I'm paying some company to manage it. In the pension plan, I'm managing it myself. The Philippines is a dump, let's be honest here. I can't say your name because it's too long, but in all honesty, I think it's not as nice as it could be. It does need a lot of cleaning up, and I do think Duterte's moving on to that stuff slowly. I do think there's too much protection around the families that control most of the country. I do think they also limit themselves to what's inside their own boundaries and not the country as a whole. So cleaning up the seas and stuff is an important step, along with getting people to understand the environmental problems. Yeah, the beaches aren't very good. A lot of beaches are pretty bad, and like I said, I do think that it's all about education. I think the Philippines was sort of dragged forward very quickly, and obviously it's got a huge population that still grows too rapidly for what it can maintain. So I do think it does need the investment, but also it's had problems with its government. So stabilizing the government is an initial step in the right direction. I do think it can sort itself out. I do think it will take time. I don't think Duterte's got enough time to do it all. I think he needs somebody to carry on his legacy, because you can only take it so far in the time he has. It needs way more change. It'll take 20 years. I would say 20 years the Philippines out, and that's with good leadership, and not just good leadership at the top, but it's got to filter through the whole system, from immigration to environmental control to waste management to re-educating people, not only for the sake of basic throwing rubbish in the bin, but also to upgrade a lot of their skill sets to make people more able to get jobs outside of the becoming a nurse, becoming a engineer on a ship, and more in line with global ability, so that they're sellable overseas. Look at South Korea. I mean, South Korea took a major change. It invested in its doctors, so it is possible. Hello, Winter, Matt. Why don't you join the Phil vlogging drama? The future's in the drama. In all honesty, I don't spend enough time with these people that argue with each other. I have my moments with Jeff, but even Jeff, I get bored of, because he doesn't seem to like his own being brought up. You're quick enough kicking at other people, but as soon as you start showing the facts about the stuff he's been up to, he doesn't like it. And the thing with Jeff stuff is he created it. It's nobody's created this stuff. It's his own information. Phantom Equalizer. Can they re-elect the new president again after his term if they wanted him again? I think he has a maximum of 8 years, I believe. I'm not sure he will be able to be elected again. But the thing is, he does have a son, his son and a daughter. So I think I'm not sure if he might have more than one son. I think he has, because one of them's from the medical world. So he could actually start a legacy there, where he actually has a member of his own family take over. You know how traditional it is in the Philippines. Yeah, Duterte would be too old to re-elect even if they wanted to. James Hannigan says, yeah, I agree. I think he's in his prime now. I think he's getting on a bit. I'm not sure what his age is at the minute, but he is gonna be able to do a lot in the time he's got. I just hope that people see it's ignited the country in the right direction. The country doesn't need any more negative political issues. What it needs is actually a country all pulling in the right direction to change it, just to realize that the problems are there. Because I notice a lot with a lot of wealthy Filipinos, what they do is they'll shout other people down rather than deal with the issues that are right in front of them. And I think that's something, if they change that to say, fix it, then that would be a positive thing. Yeah, it's 71. Yeah, I think so, yeah. I thought it was 72. It might be his birthday coming up. I might have seen something relating to his birthday a while back. But yeah, he's not a spring chicken. So, but I mean, he's pretty fit for his age, man. He's doing a full day as well. They're getting enough hours out of him, so I think he's getting they're earning their money's worth out of him. He does believe in what he's doing as well, which I think that's an important aspect. He believes in what he's doing. So I do wonder if there's enough time to get enough change to get it. That's the interesting thing. I don't know if he's got enough time to make these changes. Because I know he started investing something in the wind turbines and stuff now as well. So he's looking at the energy issues as well in the Philippines. The big question is, where can he take the economy in a positive way? Is he going to open up the foreigner investment? Because the problem he's got is he's playing on two sides. He's got to get foreign investment in, but at the same time, he's still got these old Philippine families that sit in the Senate. So things can be difficult to change, but I think the way he's doing it, like where he's kicking the guys in charge of the telephone systems up the backside for not having a 911, etc., and they did it. I think if he keeps the pressure on, he may not need to get as much foreign investment, but at the same time, it improves everything for the country as a whole, which then can have a knock-on effect. I do think it's sad that they don't open up the company aspect side in the Philippines, because it could quite easily become, you know, Makati or whatever, become the next Singapore or Hong Kong, purely on the fact that there's so much space in there for investment and development. Phantom Equalizer. Why is it that those who try to expose people on YouTube are often not hiding their own scandal, like with Jeff Lee Brown and the likes of Peter Van Der Veer and others? With Jeff, he doesn't know how to use the internet. So this is the, I mean, that's, I make this as a statement. He said it himself. So a lot of this stuff is on there. He doesn't even know where it is, from what I can see. He's wrote it on articles and forums and stuff, and he doesn't even recognize he's written it, even though all the links and everything are there showing where he wrote it and when, because most of this stuff was written in 2015. And even on his own blog, he mentions his own history with Scientology, for example. So I don't think with him, he doesn't really understand the internet enough. But also, I don't understand what they're exposing anyway. At the end of the day, myself, the stuff I get accused of, it's all completely fabricated. Somebody going through my Facebook account using somebody else's account to get into mine doesn't really have any substance to it. I'm going to add a link later on to see, to show you something relating to Christopher Bennett that he did around another troll that lives in France. I'll add that in afterwards. So you can go and see it, because you can see why he stopped reacting to these people, because it's simply a waste of time. If you're constantly having to argue with people over something that didn't happen, it's sort of like, can you prove that you haven't been to the moon? It's that sort of stupidity. It's like, well, I just haven't been it. Yeah, but can you prove it? And it's like, what are you talking about? Phantom Equalizer. Jeff Lee Brown has said some bad stuff on you and launched another video on you and others. Seems he can't do any good videos. Well, there you go. You've answered your question yourself. His own, the material he put, it's like he posted a video recently about a discussion I was having about Jeff, because somebody had approached me. I've had 3 people approach me about Jeff's interest in transgenders. Now, I also noticed on a forum thread in Scientology that Jeff had done something about transgenders as well. So I was just asking this guy about, well, he'd said that he knew Jeff had been like speaking to these transgenders and hanging around the red light district. So I was just asking the guy basically what he knew. And then Jeff posted it as if Jeff had found something. All he'd found was me asking somebody about Jeff's interest in transgenders, and that was it. You know, it wasn't any scandal or something there. It was actually me asking for facts. See, that's the difference. I was asking for some of the facts on it because I couldn't understand what Jeff's issue is. Because it's like he posts stuff about Korean men and their physique and stuff. That was the first video I seen on Jeff, and I was just like, okay. So that's why I was sort of like, I don't know what Jeff's up to, but that's what I was just trying to, because I was trying to understand what his problem is. And I do say that in a broad sense, because I don't know if it's something in his childhood or whatever. Because he turned basically because I kicked him off my Facebook. And the reason I removed him from his Facebook was his posts got a bit weirder. There was like the Holocaust didn't exist and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, he's posting this amongst my friends and family. I don't need this stuff going on. It's all right if he believes that stuff. I don't care what he believes. That's his own. But when he starts posting it in public and people ask me, what's this guy talking about? He's nuts. And then I just don't want it on there. So I just removed him from my Facebook. And that's why he started this hate campaign. But is there any facts in it? Yeah, the photos are real, but when they're real, it's completely different. The content is all fake, etc., etc. You've got to understand, I'm a family man at the end of the day, so it doesn't really bother me. At the end of the day, this guy sits there in his spare time making up stuff about me while I'm enjoying my life. So who's got the raw deal here? Philip, Phantom Equalizer. He's always video on you, Jeff. Billy Brown. It's very bad. Yeah, but I don't know what his problem is. The thing is, why is he even focused just on the Philippines? He's not an expat himself. Okay, well, we'll move on from Jeff. Like I said, Peter V is the same thing. Peter V just posts his opinions and then doesn't like people responding to them. That's very different. Peter V is just having his own opinions that he states in his mind that are facts, and then doesn't like people firing it back at him. That's fine. I've got no issue with Peter in that sense. I see guys, before they're in the bar, they've had too much to drink, and they start yelling at the TV and stuff. They're not bothering anybody. At the end of the day, like PB, I don't have to watch it, so I don't. So it doesn't really bother me, which is another reason I don't get involved in the drama. I've got other things to do. I've got more interesting things to do. Also, it doesn't help people. What benefit did people get out of it? I know some people like Anna Winter enjoys the drama, but from my perspective, I just see that people are arguing with each other over stuff that either isn't real, is trivial, and can cause some negative light. It doesn't have a positive upside for the population. Yeah, Phantom Equalizer, and then again, likewise, there is scandal on him as well. Jeff Lee Brown is like the pot calling the kettle black. Yeah, that's the thing. Jeff's stuff is real. He's actually wrote most of the stuff that he's actually put on the internet. Yeah, James Hannigan. Winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. I would agree on that. With our life in Spain, we're now in this last phase of the immigration, and then all the ball starts rolling, the snowball effect starts, because we can start developing our life here in the way we want it. So there's no negative aspect of our life in Spain except bureaucracy takes forever, but it's well known that mañana attitude in Spain is very common. But hey ho, Philippines isn't much better. We're trying to book an appointment today, and the guys in the Spanish, I think it's the Spanish embassy in the Philippines, don't even answer the phone. Do I want Jeff to get messed up? I don't. Jeff doesn't bother me. Like I say, he doesn't bother me. Jeff has his own issues. If Jeff has something happen to him, it has no negative or positive aspect on my life. Jeff's just Jeff. It doesn't bother me. I think he's got his own stuff. I don't care. At the end of the day, he's not worth the time, and he certainly doesn't bother me or upset me. That's for sure. So no, I wouldn't want the guy messed up, but at the same time, would I care one way or the other? I probably wouldn't even notice. That's the reality of it. I do get people tell me when he's done this or done that, but beyond that, I don't really focus my time. It's like this week, where with the contract expiring in 3 weeks, I sat and focused on what I needed to do, which is find new contracts, and that's what I focused on. Beyond that, I had meetings with Andreas, the lawyer here in Spain, so we can start doing some of the legal videos for the Spanish channel. I was in talking with Brian, who's setting up a business here in La Mata. I've just had somebody else contact me last night relating to another business in Spain. That's the stuff I focus on. Oh, but will I watch the video when his pants are down? Only if somebody sends it to me. I won't be looking for it, that's for sure. I don't really care about Jeff. It's a bit like Jeff is destructive, and the stuff that he does, it comes back on himself. So it doesn't really bother me. It's a bit like there's somebody else I know is having some problems at the moment, and I know a lot of stuff that I could put out on YouTube, and I don't. Quite simply, the guy is already in a bad situation. He's lost his money, he's lost his business, etc. But I don't put it on YouTube. But the guy's already down. He's already got problems. So I don't really want to knock him about too much because he's got enough to deal with. Yeah, hello, Winter. Jeff cares a lot about you. Yeah, that's the point. That's exactly the point. Spending a lot of time on me, where the other time I don't even think about him. Properties. Phantom Equalizer. Have they? This is about Spain. Have the government cleared up the scandal over properties? The British lost their homes and retirement homes in Spain. It's not just the Brits, the Spanish and others had this problem, and a lot of it, from what I've seen here, speaking with people, and also the former mayor of Torrevieja is currently, or may be in his second year now, doing a 3-year jail sentence for building a spa on natural land. There's a lot of the problems were relating to where agreements were made locally but weren't authorized nationally. So this is where the properties were built on land that they weren't allowed to, and basically some people made a lot of money and basically disappeared with it. So it's still ongoing. Claire Harper, hi Matt, well done on getting residency. Thanks Claire. Yeah, it's been a long journey, that's for sure. And I was sat there and I had given them everything they asked for. I went there in October and turned around and says, you know what, tell me what you want. Sorry, November, because I didn't get through on October. I went to a meeting, I didn't get it. And then I went in November. I says, look, I'm going to book my next appointment. Tell me exactly what you want. I don't care what it is, I'll get it. And then when I went, they were sat there going, okay, well, he needs to have social security payment in Spain. So, okay, but the thing is, his social security is on this self-employment, but he had no income on the self-employment because his income's from the UK. So he shouldn't really have this healthcare in Spain, because although he's paid nearly 2,000 euros, he's employed in the UK, even though he's not left Spain. But then they looked at the Spanish and go, oh yeah, but he's also paid social security in the UK as well, and he's paid taxes that they can transfer because he's actually a tax resident of Spain, not the UK. And and they sat, the guy that was dealing with it and his boss and another policeman come over. They talked for 20 minutes. And I thought, this will be it. They're going to want something else now. And then he just went, it's okay, no problem. And that was it. Bang, bang, turn it off, and away I go. So yeah, I was very happy with that, Claire. That's been such a strain to get that done. I mean, that's a year, 18 months to get that done. But the thing is, I know for a lot of people, it's easier if they arrive in the holiday season and do it up in Benidorm or whatever, because they can get jobs there with pay slips and things that makes it much easier. I earn quite a good income in the stuff I do from the UK, so I didn't really want to give up good income just to get the paperwork process. So that's why it took me a bit longer than it should do. If I was advising somebody else, I would say get yourself into Benidorm or somewhere else that has a high expat population for the holiday season, and just make your money, take your pay slips, and get your residency done ASAP. It would be so much easier. But mine's a bit more complicated because I've now got the next stage, which is to get my wife's and the kids officially done as well. So I need to have a constant flow of good income, which I couldn't do in a 3-month holiday period. Anna Winter, consider yourself. Phantom Equalizer, what's the time on residency in Spain from start to finish normally? Can you get a lawyer to take care of it? Would it be faster? Here's the reality here. I sacked the guy dealing with mine. I sacked him in November, and I got mine finalized by January. So I've had him since I arrived in Spain, and he's cost me a lot of money and delivered nothing. I sacked him, and I did it myself, and I got it done. Does that answer your question? The guy was talking about translating some of the documents into Spanish because he charges 20 euros plus per page, when in fact the Spanish don't actually need it. He just tried to rip me off. You got to be very careful with the different people in Spain. This is why we're starting our own expat services here. Andreas is working with me on that. Andreas is actually a legal lawyer. He actually does all the processing, but he's also qualified for criminal law. He's also involved with property development and the what do you call it? When you join a lawyer firm, you become a partner. Yeah, the firm he partners in also does real estate and a lot of others. So we can do car registrations now. I've managed to sort out, this is another example of stuff I've been doing this week. I can now do insurance. I can actually get you insurance for houses, mobile homes, cars, life insurance, medical insurance, all that stuff we're now covered in. Because I've managed to sort that out with a company to make sure everything works, so that we've got everything to make sure everybody's insured in Spain, and the insurance actually works. Because even up to a year ago, there was people putting flyers on people's cars offering insurance, but they were a fly-by-night company. As soon as they got some claims, they shut the office and disappeared with everybody's money. Phantom Equalizer, what is an acceptable income for residency? It depends on the number of people. They actually work on people. They don't work on individuals. So with mine, they process mine separately. So at the end of the day, what happens is they process mine, and then because mine's done here in Torrevieja, then they process April and the kids in Alicante. So what you have to do is keep everybody out of the loop when you process yours first, purely because it's nothing to do with this office. It just complicates things. But income-wise, I would say for an individual or even a family of 4, up to a family of 4, you could probably get away with 1,600 euros. But I would also say it depends on the office. Torrevieja would accept it because I know somebody had theirs and they only had 1,400 euros income, and they said, well, you shouldn't really accept it. You should have at least 1,600. But I know people have gone a bit further north and inland. They've turned around and they've just basically turned around and said, you know what, it's fine. And they haven't even took an interest in the actual process they should be following. So at the end of the day, the opportunities there depend where you are. It really is. It's all open to interpretation. So if, for example, you're a bit further inland in one of these farming towns, whatever, you'll find the process probably much, much easier than on the coast. The problem we get here is we've got an influx of people that are coming in off the beach. You got people coming in from different countries, because our population here is so cosmopolitan, it's so mixed up. We have so many people that come in from Morocco, all over the place. Really is, Guatemala, then you've got the Europeans, you've got the Norwegians, the Dutch, the Germans, the French, the Swiss, all sorts of people from all over the place. But one of the problems they have here is they do have a lot of people that aren't self-reliant, and they're very manipulative, which has made it harder to get the paperwork processed. It's as simple as that. They have made it harder for everybody else. And it's something nobody really covers, because that is one of the problems that we face being EU citizens, is we're often impacted on by people doing things that are illegal. Like I was saying earlier about the show money, when they all put the money in the same bank account to say they've got X amount in the bank to get through their residency, and then they transfer it to the next person's bank account, it goes in the following week and does exactly the same. That got rid of the €6,000 you used to just go in with. You show you had €6,000, they go, yeah, you're a resident. Not anymore. They want to know where it's come from. They want to know how much regular income you've got. They want to know where it's getting transferred from. They want to see the pay slips. All of this is being caused by other people coming in that have been abusing the system and created these problems. And that's why I have a bit of sympathy for the guys that work in these offices, because they get so much grief because people are coming in for renewals and going, it wasn't like this 3 years ago. Well, it wasn't, no. But the problems have become bigger and bigger over the last few years. Brexit, for example, has created a drive for the influx of people to get to the UK. So I would say that is the problem. But if you've got €1,000 and a single person, I would say you wouldn't have any problems. If you're from the EU, a lot of people don't even bother registering. I'll be honest, a lot of people do not bother registering. I'm not talking 1 or 2 people. A lot of Brits have been here for 10, 20 years nearly, and are still not in the system anywhere. The only place you could probably come unstuck is medical service, where you could probably get private health care. I know for a family of 4, our quote was €120 a month. Which gives you a co-op payment. So basically, if I go to the doctors, it costs me €8. The rest is covered in insurance. So hopefully that answers that question. Any other questions? Hi, Amelia. Thanks for joining us. I was covering a topic earlier. I did it at the start of this. Basically, what I'm saying, I'm going to get what your comments are, and I'll be putting it back to the Spanish channel, because yours is a bit more complex. Because there's different legalities. The different ones who are talking about relating to visas is, some of them are student visas, some are to do with circumstance. And you've also got the historical, if your ancestral connections to Spain. As Filipinos, there's a lot of different ways to get the migration to Spain. So it's not as straightforward as like a 5-minute conversation, but Andreas is actually a lawyer. So Andreas can help with that. And we'll actually create a separate video on that, and we'll cover that on another channel. If you private message me or find my Facebook page and message me, I'll let you know when Andreas is covering that, and we'll talk about that on a separate video, because it's a complicated subject, and it's specific to Filipinos going to Spain. So we'll put that to one side for now. It Takes Two. Where's 591? He got banned. I think he'd been priming for getting banned for about the last 10 comments. So yeah, he's gone. Well, the thing with, Amelia is saying, yes, trust me, Matt, there are many Filipinos who will check your channel if you give complete and very useful information about it. I'm glad you follow the channel. I'm glad you enjoy it. Yes, this is why I've been trying to get some more stuff relating to the legal side. I've spent a bit of time this week getting an insurance company I can trust to work with. I've got Andreas, the lawyer, on board. We've got we're going to be doing stuff that covers more the aspects of stuff for expat life in Spain. That will be on the AlicanteSpain.net channel, because a lot of this stuff that goes on here is for the Philippines, and this other the stuff we're talking about now relating to the immigration and the visas and stuff is specific to the Alicante Spain channel, because it's very, very specific relating to documentation. Yeah, I'm glad you like the channel. It's but yeah, I know the frustrations of dealing with immigration. I've just finished my residency myself. We're now processing my wife's. Claire Harper, yes, I only have a summer contract. I have the health card. Not sure I would get residency with only a summer contract. I would say if they're paying your social security and you got your last 3 pay slips, etc., you may be okay. Yeah, a lot of people are worried. Claire Harper says, never bothered before, but with Brexit, I think this is a priority. I agree. I think it's very important people get in the system where they can, even if it's just getting registered on the Padron. There's people here I know that have been here 18 years that do not exist. They've never registered even for the healthcare. They've not bothered with anything. I know myself, with the healthcare, we actually go at the private hospital. I just pay in cash. But we're actually entitled to free healthcare. It's just that, we've got our SIP cards, our medical cards, but I generally go private because you don't have to wait 5 minutes. But yeah, I think the Brexit is going to have a lot of changes, and I think Spain needs to be aware of how many Brits are here, because the media are going to focus on that. So the more people that actually register in the system will actually show how many Brits are actually in Spain. Because at the moment, there's so many that aren't registered. And you see the media going, there's not as many people in Europe from the UK as previously thought. I would say they have no idea. Fantamika, is there agencies in the Philippines that can get Filipino work in Spain or for domestic helpers? I don't get involved in the agency stuff because it's just very high risk for an expat. I don't touch it with a barge pole. There is agencies that can do that. Filipinos will know which are the best ones to work with anyway. So my personal view on that is I won't touch it with a barge pole. Too much risk. Claire Harper, do I need to be on the Padron for residency? The answer is yes. You need your NIE, you need your Padron, you need to be registered with Social Security. If you've transferred your S1 Social Security from the UK to Spain, take that because it shows your Social Security cover. That's the main documents that you need. Then you've got your three months pay slips showing your bank statements. They normally want at least 2,000 euros in the bank where we are, plus all the documentation to show where the money came from. Amelia Salgado. Okay, Matt, here's the thing. I've been researching for weeks now about how to get inside Spain through studying, and I understand that Filipinos can be a citizen only after 2 years of residency there. Yes, they can. But you need to show the connection between your family, which is what I was saying about the... like say your great-grandparents were Spanish, that's the sort of thing you're looking for. Now, yes, you can become a citizen. You can become a Spanish citizen, but you do need to have that sort of connection that shows you have a connection there. I know about pareja de hecho, married to a Spanish, and arreglo social. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll try and find some people that have already done some processes relating to moving to Spain from the Philippines. I do know some people around that have come from the Philippines, and I've had a couple of friends that have actually had their citizenship in 1 year, but they've both been in Madrid. So it might be a bit easier in Madrid than it is where I am on the coast. But I mentioned before, on the coast, it's a bit more complicated because we have so many illegals come here. So I would say it might be easier in Madrid to process, might be easier in Barcelona. But there is quite a large Filipino community in both of those major cities. So I would say it's easy to get hold of people that have already gone through the system, currently in the system, and can get you through the different stages relating to coming over to Spain. But there is a lot of opportunities in Spain once you get here. There's a lot of Filipinos in Barcelona. The funny thing is, we're in Barcelona for only probably about 6 hours, and we bumped into some Filipinos, not hard to find, literally on the street. So it's not hard to find people that can help. Yeah, but the Spanish law says that a Filipino can become a citizen after 2 years of residency without any Spanish ancestry or whatsoever. I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. I need to talk to this with Andreas. That's what I'm saying, because I need to double check on this, because I do know that for myself, being British, is 5 years. But the connection between Spain and the Philippines, because obviously Philippines actually is to do with Prince Philip, or King Philip of Spain. That's why it's called the Philippines. But some of it can be ancestral. I need to understand how it's worked, how it's set up. Because, like I said, I've had people get their paperwork in a year, including the passport. So that doesn't even get covered in the documentations online. But 2 people I know have actually done it. How's my wife? My wife loves Spain. She's adapted to life here very well. If anything, I suppose the big thing here is the difference in food. The food quality is so different to the Philippines, but also having that European lifestyle is something new and different from the Philippines. If you spend your entire life in one country and then go to another, it's all fresh and new. It's all interesting and exciting. So, yeah, I would say my wife's loving it here. Although we will be back in the Philippines later on this year for a holiday. We'll probably be going out there for a month, see how the family are doing. Hopefully our other apartment will be nearly finished, so I can get there to make sure they've done it properly. But all going well. Everything going well. So yeah. Is there any other questions? Because is it true that Spain is a more safer country than the Philippines? I would say I find it a very safe country. I'd say the police here are very proactive. I would say there isn't a day go by that you don't see the police patrolling. They're also proactive with roadblocks, and they seem to set the roadblocks up for specific people, because they're there, and then like 5 minutes later you go back, they're gone. So it's like they already know who they want. So I would say they're very proactive, but it's done in a very quiet way. They're visual, but you don't see any of the arrest or anything. So it's almost like they're just appear and disappear. It's like the market. We have some issues with pickpockets and stuff. The last few months, there's been at least 6 to 8 police, and it's only a small market. James Hannigan, how long do you reckon it'll take to learn Spanish once you're over there amongst that? For me, it's going to take me up to 3 years, I think, because I spend too much time speaking to people that don't speak Spanish. I need to find an old guy somewhere and just sit and annoy him every day until he teaches me Spanish fluently. That's the easiest way of learning it, is just getting slapped around by an old guy going, that's wrong, it's not this and that. Otherwise, using Duolingo and stuff, I know lots of words and things, and it takes ages doing that, because you know what the words are, but you're not speaking them, which is where it becomes a bit harder. Hello, Winter. Matt, are you a heavy metal guy? You come across as a heavy metal guy. Funny you used to say that. Me and my son were listening to Nirvana earlier on. Introducing him to Nirvana. Yes, I do like my heavy metal. Listen to it quite a lot. I enjoy it. I'm not into the very heavy stuff. I'm not a grunge fan. I'm more Nirvana, Soundgarden, what else? Metallica, that sort of stuff. Phantom Equalizer. My wife likes to know more about residency from my wife, who's a Filipino, with this guy, with this guy, you know. Oh, Andreas is with a S, not a Y. Yeah, there's another channel which is for the Spanish stuff, because this one's more like me interacting like this. The Spanish channel is actually going to be more of a direct focused, more direct focused discussion, you know, where it's going to cover specific topics, and people can go in and say, well, I went to residency today and they rejected because they say I need another XYZ, and that's going to be a focus on that. Because of it. Amelia, Matt, who is this Andre? Andreas is a lawyer. Andreas is a lawyer. He's originally from Italy. He's moved to Spain, spent a bit of time in the UK, speaks Spanish fluently, speaks speaks Spanish, English, Italian. He's on the. He doesn't have a channel. It's another one of my channels. Let me see if I can find my other channel while we're on the air. I'll do that in the background. Incubus. Yeah, I haven't really covered Incubus, to be honest. I'll have a look. Phantom Equalizer. Can you still open bank accounts with just a passport? Which are the best secure banks to be with? Spain, they have what are called non-resident accounts, and anybody can open them. Some of them need an NIE, but anybody can get an NIE number. You just need to have your passport and your padron, which is basically what I think the three things I needed was my padron, which is it shows that you're on the electoral roll, the contract for where I was living, so it shows my tenancy agreement, and my passport. And that was the three things I needed for NIE. And then with the NIE, they opened the bank account. But I actually opened the bank account before I had the NIE. So I think it shouldn't be an issue. It's just the bank actually wanted my NIE after I got it, which was the following day after I spoke to the bank, because they saw I opened the account first, because it took a week to get the bank cards and stuff. So they sort of did it ahead. Mr. Grimm, police state conditioning. I assume you're on about Spain. I would say they're more concerned about the anti-terrorism stuff at the moment. So they're very, very proactive in keeping people safe. They're not really under a political agenda of any sort. They just seem to be very proactive in protecting tourists and not really getting too involved. That's what I'm saying. They're very distant. They're not engaging with you or anything. They're just there. I'll just put the Alicante Spain channel in the comments for those that are interested in the channel. This is one we're developing. This is still in its early days, but it will just cover Spain. Amelia, hey man, I love how you live your life at the moment, working online in Spain. Maybe it's because of the unemployment rate in Spain. Can I ask, what jobs do you do online? Are they still good jobs? Are there good jobs for expats in general? I would say it depends where you are. In La Mata, where we live, there is not many jobs. You have to create them. It's why we're looking at different things at the moment here. Because I may have to go into London this year for a few months, purely because there's a contract coming up there, which will be a nice profile one for my LinkedIn, but also it'll be a nice income before we head off to the Philippines on holiday. So yeah, but the stuff I do online, I mainly do stuff related to spreadsheets. Well, the stuff I do is very specific and niche, because it's to do with buildings. If you imagine all the things in a building, from air conditioning down to taps and sinks, when somebody does a survey, I can tell you what's missing from that survey just by looking at their data. And that's what I do. I basically analyze people's data. That's what I do remotely. For example, if they've got fire extinguishers, they should have fire blankets. And then the question is there any fire hoses in the building? If they've got air conditioning, they've got actuators, they've got control panels, they've got all the other bits and pieces. That's all the stuff I know. And then I can quantify and price based on the square meterage of the building. So it's quite a niche, like I was saying, it's quite a niche market what I do. Pete Davis, I've just watched your very recent video reference Spanish residency. I thought you had to show 5 years of unbroken living in Spain before you are likely to be approved and considered for residency. 5 years is for citizenship. It's to become a Spanish citizenship. Citizen, not resident. Resident you can get in 3 months, 3 to 4 months normally. Mine's more complicated because my income's in the UK, not in Spain. So I hope that answers your question. Teaching English is also one of those ventures that can be very sustainable. I know at least 4 people that have lived in Spain that purely made their money teaching English online. Amelia, so online jobs in the way of how to make a living in Spain. How about online English tutoring? Funny you say that. That's what I was just covering. Yes, teaching English online. I will also say if you can teach English already now, if you go to Antori.com, I think it's Antori.com, you can probably pick up some work teaching students. It's the wrong time of year right this moment because of the Chinese New Year, because a lot of the students are away on holiday, but you will be able to pick up some work there from Asia. But you want to develop your own English teaching before you arrive in Spain, because your students could be anywhere on the planet. You can also develop your own teaching within Spain, which is a little bit more difficult, but it's not impossible. Amelia, do I trade binary options? I don't trade online. I do peer-to-peer lending, peer-to-peer lending, and I have other investments, but I don't actually do anything that's or illegal. For me, it's just anything that is a problem, it has a legal issue or moral issue, I don't generally touch. Amelia Sagado, is that for Spanish people or people around the world? Antori.com teaches English predominantly from, I think, Vietnam and Thailand. But to get the people from Spain and the US market, etc., is a bit more difficult. It's something that I would recommend just looking at getting started, because if you're new to teaching English, start with the ones that you can get work from easily, and then develop your English teaching skills, and then move on to trying to get the harder work with more pay. It just gets you started. Binary options trading is legal, Amelia. Like I said, I don't know anything about it, so I can't really comment. I'm just saying I wouldn't do anything that has anything illegal attached to it. It's just not worth it in the line of work I do. My clients are like government contracts, so anything that could damage my what do we call that? My golden goose, I would not touch with a barge pole. I've too much to lose. So although that's, like you say, it's legal, I don't know enough about it to even comment on it. So I don't know. Any other questions out there? My throat's running dry. No, I don't. Amelia's asking, so you're not a trader? No, I don't do any day trading or anything like that. I do peer-to-peer lending mainly. And the other stuff I've made money on is direct businesses, where I've invested in a business, made my money, then eventually sold it, or like the call center, made the money, then just closed the door for now. We already own everything there. So I don't actually do any trading now. I would have to dedicate too much time to it to understand it, and I can make money elsewhere. So it's not something I touch. It's just not something I'm involved with. Yeah, Phantom Equalizer, regarding my wife would like to know more about residency from my wife, who is Filipina, with this guy, Andreas. Send me a private message on that one. The reason being is we can discuss that privately, because it's about how you go, the way you're set up for living in Spain, or whether you just want things processed. So that's the important bit. It's more a private thing, not because we're hiding anything, but obviously it's your private life. It's not for the radio show. Phantom Equalize. Can a Filipino worker apply for residency in Spain if I've been there for 10 years or sooner with no family connection? If they've been here legally, then they should already be able to apply. Have they been here just working illegally? But there's also funny rules relating to just being here, even if you're not in the system. So this is why I'm trying to get Andreas involved in this later on, because there's so many legal things that you can pull out of, like a rabbit out of the hat, because some things that, well, if you've been here 5 years or whatever, maybe you can already be a citizen because you've already been here and nobody's bothered you. There's all sorts of stuff that's in the background. I don't need what did you say? I don't have all that information right in front of me, and because it's legal, I want the Andreas on board because he's the lawyer. I'm not the lawyer. James Hannigan, recommend a peer-to-peer lending site. I use Funding Circle in the UK. I'm getting a return of around 10.4% per year out of it. I haven't had any issues. I've had 0 defaults. I've been quite selective on who can get loans from me, but I have lost 0 money and I've made 10.4% annually off it. I'm not saying how much money's in there, but I add money in there on a regular basis. Let's put it that way. I have a budget I want to head that into. I'm trying to gear that up to add £10,000 a year into that. So I'll leave that there. I don't want to talk about my own finances too much. Amelia Segregado, can anyone just enroll in any school in Spain? Will the Spanish consulate accept anyone who will study in Spain? Will they give them long-term student visa if you can be accepted in a 3-year study in Spain? I assume you're talking private schools. If it's private schools, I would say contact them, because they'll know the process themselves. They're normally pretty good at informing you on what their processes are and who you need to talk to get that process done. So with a long-term training, I would say that they would be able to sort a lot of the issues with you. And also you'll get their support and documentation when you go through the process with the consulate. So yes, I would say you need to speak to some of the schools. Well, if you're doing a bachelor's or master's degree, then I would say still speak to the college or university that you're looking at, because they'll be able to tell you what are the requirements for foreign students. And you're not the first person to ask me. There's about 5 people so far have asked me about doing their master's degree. The thing with that is the paperwork is going to involve the college or university anyway, and it may already have a process in place that can make it so much easier, to the point that you may only have to sign bits of paper. That's what I say. I recommend talking to them directly. James Hanahan, sounds like a good return. Yes, I agree, and that's why I recommend them. I know some people have lost money on them, but when they say they lost money, they haven't. I haven't actually heard of anybody that's actually really lost money. They may have been struggling to get their money back out because obviously it's loaned out. It's not a savings account. It's already invested. It's your money in other people's pockets that are paying it back in installments. But I haven't actually heard of anybody actually losing money. I've heard of people having to wait to get their money, but that's part of the risk. That's just business. Phantom Equalizer, she's a working Filipina. Then she should be able to process. If she's in Spain and working for a company there, I would actually turn around and recommend that she gets in touch with us. Let's put it that way. Get in touch with us, because Andreas may be able to help with that. Because quite simply, it sounds like the process may be a lot easier because she's been here such a long period of time already. Amelia Sagado, how about a TEFL school? For teaching English in Spain, the problem is these courses are pretty short anyway. So if you're looking just to come to Spain and do a 6-week course or something, it may not be that viable, because you can get TEFL training in Cebu. I know there's one there. There may be other ones around in the Philippines as well. But like I said, the easiest thing is to contact the schools, because they'll already know if they've had students out in the Philippines, if they've had visa problems or any other issues relating to that. Because student visas, we've had some friends from, I think they were Norwegian, that went to a school in Barcelona, and some went to a school in Valencia. They had no problems, but they're all EU. So from a non-EU point, I'm not 100% what the requirements are for the training. That's why Andreas is important to bring in on this, because he could probably help process all the paperwork for you if it's needed. We got any more questions? Phantom Equalizer, yes, it's been a good radio show today. Lots of good information. I agree, it's been interesting because we've had so many conversation about such a broad spectrum of things, from the expat disputes in the vlog community, to Spain, to Philippines life, to pretty much everything. Amelia, is it easy to be given a long-term student visa if you will enroll in a 3-year course? I can't answer that question. I'll wait until we go on to I speak to Andreas about it. I'll ask Andreas your questions. Send me a private message with your questions. I'll send it over to Andreas, and I'll get him to send you an email back. Because that'll be the easiest thing of doing it. Because quite simply, you need some more input from a legal side. I can't really cover much more than I already know, because obviously the student visa side is something I haven't really spent any time on. It's just I know some students, well, I say they're adult students who are in their 30s that have actually studied in Spain. I can't really go beyond that because they were all from Europe anyway. I suppose the other thing is, which we haven't really covered, is immigration to Spain from America. Because a few people have asked me about moving to Spain, and I was reading up on it this week. It's not as difficult as it seems to come from America to Spain. A lot of the criteria is very, very basic. It's about showing basically the same stuff I'm doing myself, showing my income, showing you've got a stable regular income, that you've got some savings. And one of the things that was part of the criteria I noticed was also a check into your history for any convictions in the US. But beyond that, it didn't seem that difficult to do. It seemed very on par with what I've had to deal with myself in Spain as a EU citizen. So I do think from that perspective, if you're an American thinking about Spain as an option, it could quite simply be on the cards. The only thing I'd be a bit cautious of in the next 6 months is seeing what Trump's up to. Because between Trump, the Brexit, and the general movement of the markets, I would say we just have to sit and batten the hatches for 6 months till things settle down. I'm going to cut the conversation off here, guys. It's been fantastic having you all here, but I'm actually running out of throat. I mean, my throat's actually dry now. Phantom Equalizer, you have to do more of these shows. It's productive insight into illegalities. I agree, and that's why I want to try and get Andreas in on a lot of them as well, because obviously he's a lawyer. He can answer the questions, and a lot of this stuff a lot better than me, because that's what he does all day. He's a lawyer. Amelia, hey Matt, do you watch football in Spain? Do you support any football club? My wife supports Barcelona FC. My Barcelona FC, my wife will have the TV on watching it every game. She watches the football, so she's a big football fan. Myself, I don't really follow sports too much. I like doing sports, but I just don't like watching them too much. Although I say I don't like watching them, I won't go and watch it, but I would actually, if my wife's watching it, I'll watch the football with her. But it's not something I would try to do. Amelia, I will wait for your videos about things I asked you. Thank you. You're a Real Madrid fan. Yeah, I think that half the country split one way or the other. Barcelona or Madrid. It seems ingrained. It's like a religion here in Spain. Football is life. The world seems to stop if both teams are playing on the same night. But I'm going to cut it off now because my throat's nearly gone. I've nearly lost my voice. But it's been fantastic having you all here, and I really appreciate you guys coming in and having all your questions. And we're going to have another one of these next week. So if you've got a load of questions, leave them in the comments, because what I'll do is I'll create another little mini video for the comment section of next week's video. That way we can get the questions together, and then I can get Andreas to answer some of them. I can research some of the information, and then we can turn around and have a more informed stuff on the legalities, especially. It's been fantastic. Have a great day, everyone, and a good evening, depending where you are. Take care.